Okay, hopefully this doesn't sound awful. All right, let's go for it. All right, so today I want to talk about Live 12. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are, much appreciated. Yeah, so this is the latest version of the Live software. And yeah, there's a whole bunch to talk about here. So straight away, let's talk about the new user interface. As we can see, the interface has been streamlined and modernized. You'll see new features throughout. If we look in the upper right-hand side, we can see the two icons that represent session view and arrangement view have been updated. We can see the sample rate front and center. If we look at our individual tracks, we can start to see not only the track color on the header, but actually at the bottom of the individual track too. Faders have been redesigned, and this goes the same for preferences. If we pop into preferences here, we have all types of options as well, including new themes and colors, and a long time in the making, but finally here in Live 12 are awesome new accessibility features, which are really quite exciting. You have the ability to navigate around the software without a keyboard, focusing on tab navigation. And we also have screen reader support throughout the software. All exciting stuff. So let's dive into some of the new features. And to do that, let's listen to a little bit of music. So I'm going to play these two clips back, and we should hear some sound straight away. Yeah, so we have a simple drum clip here and piano chords. Let's go ahead and move into the drums here and just take a look at what we have and see if we want to make any other decisions about this. One of the awesome new features in terms of these new visual upgrades and updates is the ability to not only edit MIDI, but also sound design simultaneously. So if I press Command Option 4 on Mac, we can go ahead and pull up our device view as well. And here we see we have a drum kit on here, and we can listen to this real quick. So I like these drums, but I want to change them up, right? So to do that, I can take advantage by doing a few different things. I mean, first things first, I can just try to switch out the drum rack for something else. So if I do it that way, I can use this new button, which we're going to see throughout Live, new feature rather, which is called Sound Similarity. So Sound Similarity is using a little bit of machine learning to actually analyze all your samples and Ableton Live presets and determine, based on things like pitch and timbre, the qualities of said sounds, and give you similar sounds when you're searching for them. So this is a great creative tool to find similar sounds if the one you have isn't quite doing it for you. And it's also just a good creative tool to quickly swap between samples and try new sound design. So I'm going to hit this Sound Similarity button. It's going to, give us a few options here. So if I look at the whole kit, it's going to allow me to quickly move through different samples and files. So I could use the browser, which we can see has been updated with tags and filters, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But one thing I can also do, and let's just make this front and center, is actually use Sound Similarity within Simpler, which we see with these two arrow buttons here, and in the instrument rack as well. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's listen to our drums. So I think they sound nice, but let's say I want to switch out this kick real quick, right? So if I go to this drum cell in which this kick is on, I can use this left and right arrow to navigate around. So now we get a much subbier kick. Cool. That's got a little more beater. It's a little more thick, so that sounds good to me. And let's just say I want to switch up this snare, this per kit. I can do just the same. Now I could use these arrows on the drum cell, but I could actually go into the individual simpler and take advantage of sound similarity too. And I'm using drums in this case, but of course this is going to work for any sample. So really great for tonal stuff, vocals, things like that. And the beautiful thing here is it's not only analyzing the sounds in live, right? We see the sound similarity option on drum racks. We see it on samples. Basically anything that's been analyzed in Live's library, we're going to have the ability to take advantage of sound similarity, which is quite nice. Although I have not seen it there, but that's okay. So let's go to all. Yeah, so anything with a preview or has been analyzed by Live we'll be able to choose from. So let's go ahead and try out a few different of these perks. Cool, I like that one. It's got more of that sloppy kind of clap vibe to it, which sounds good in this particular case. Cool, okay. So we've got some drums, and now we've got some updated, we've got some piano, now we've got some updated drums, which is great as well. So with this kick and drum pattern, let's go ahead and add to it. And to add to it, I'm gonna grab a hi-hat. So I'll just duplicate this clip with that previous drum material we made up. We'll double click on that, and let's just make this front and center, and let's just focus on the MIDI for just a moment. I'm going to unfold it, and we can see all the different samples available to us. And in this case, I'm going to go to this Generate tab. And what do we have in this Generate tab? Well, this is one of two new sections which are known as MIDI tools. We have the ability to generate new MIDI and transform MIDI we've already had. But let's go ahead and play with Generate right now. So we have a number of different algorithms, I guess. I'm trying to think of the best word for that, or transformations, or transformers, or generators. And we also have the ability to make these generators in Max for Live too, which is quite convenient as well. So let's just go to Generate, and let's go to one called Rhythm. And here I'm going to go to hi-hat closed. And you can see that it's already generated MIDI for me, which is pretty crazy. So what does this rhythm generator do? Well, essentially, I can select a period of time like I am here and select a sample I want to play with. And I can select a number of steps. So in this case, let's go to 16. That's the max we have available for us. And then we can see all these different pattern options, right? We're talking hundreds. We're talking up to thousands if we increase our density to certain levels. That density of 11, we have 3,000 patterns here. And let's play that clip. So it's going to give us all types of different options to generate new drum material. In this case, I want some more just consistent hi-hats playing throughout, so I'm really going to crank up the density here. And let's make sure we have this entire 4 bars selected. And yeah, it looks like we have something nice there. And let's just, really crank that density up. So it's going to do a few things straight away. You can already tell it's got a certain feel to it. So what I want to do is bring this split rate down. Right now it's at 100%, which isn't what I want. So basically, what the split parameter does, it's going to say this X% of time, do something else. And by doing something else, it's going to split whatever subdivision of time we're on to the subdivision lower. So we're on 16th notes. If I set it to say 7% of time or 5% of time, it's going to go, Matt, 5% of the time, let's make these 30-second notes. So already it starts to generate more interesting hi-hats for me. With all the generation and transformation tools, we're using them like we're able to collaborate with them, right? It's not doing all the work for us. It's giving us an idea, and now it's our job to really craft that. So a few other parameters that I like here are the ability to set a velocity range. In this, I think the range is pretty nice, and basically it's saying set a typical note to a velocity of 27, quite quiet, and occasionally add an accented note. In this case, the number is 76, and we're going to do that every fourth note, right? And we could switch the frequency in which this happens. We can also shift around which note is accented. So let's hear this. It's accenting every second note, maybe a little too much. Let's try 3. Cool, so I think that's sounding quite good. We'll play some more with these generators later, but as you can see, they're really robust tools for helping us generate ideas and starting to collaborate with Ableton Live in deeper and deeper ways. So with this in mind, let's go ahead and play with a few more of the awesome new MIDI tools in Live 12. Some of these are built in. One of them is a tool that I've been using quite a bit, which gives us the ability to split MIDI. So what I can do is select a note, and if I press Command E to split, it's going to split it in whatever subdivision I've selected up here. So set to 64th notes. So for this beat, make them all, slice them into 64th notes, and we can hear this. Now we have a few other ways to slice as well. I could simply hold E on my keyboard, and we see the grid disappears. Now I can make slices wherever my mouse cursor is. We could get pretty granular with that. Let's hear that. And let's make count on 1 bar, so it'll be a little easier to do this. Now we can even go further with this. So if I hold Command and Option, and I mouse up or down, we can make up to 256 slices. And so we can think of that subdivision as getting real small, because that's, all these slices of already what is like a 32nd note, right? Or 16th note. Cool. So I'm just going to duplicate that one more time, and let's just do a few more of these little slices here. And if we're thinking of different time signatures and, ways of organizing sound, polyrhythm and polymeter, we could do things by, this is typically 1 beat, but we're going to have, what is this? 7 notes in, here, let's combine these together. And let's just combine these into a half note. Is that going to work? Let's try that. Let's join these, and then let's slice this beat, or this half of a beat, into 5 notes. Sounded pretty good to me. All right. So already just using these MIDI tools, we've been able to generate something, I think, that sounds pretty cool. So let's move on. And to do that, I want to start to play with some of these chords. And in this case, I'm going to use the MIDI tools known as transformations or transforms. So let's fold up our piano grid just here, and we can take a look at what we have. So a nice little 4-bar loop. Great. So what I'm going to do is just copy our loop down 1. And for this second iteration of the clip, what I want to do is play with this transform tool called Recombine. You can see we have a whole bunch of transforms to choose from, and we could build these using Max for Live as well, both the generate and transform tools, which is exciting, and we could look at a little more if you want to chat on that. But it really opens these up. You know, you can imagine things like a Latin rhythm generator, genre-specific generators, all types of awesome stuff, right? So let us use recombine here, and I'm just going to go select this last bar. And this recombine allows us to recontextualize notes we already have, and it does that by allowing us to swap pitch, the length of notes, and the velocity of notes. Because so much of music making is building on what has came before it, it's a really quick and easy way to add variation to our sounds. So I'm just going to rotate this, and it should give me something a little different. It looks like we maybe missed that first note, so let's try this again. So. Cool. So already we're able to add more variation to our sounds. I could create a follow action chain here by selecting these two notes and create a follow action chain. And now we can start to add some more variation. These two 4-bar loops will loop between each other. We can hear our sounds start to evolve over time. So you can really start to see how useful these transform and generation tools are. From subtle variation to helping us with entire parts, they just really make MIDI editing feel a little more natural and organic. And I mean, you know, we can look at this even a little more. Let's select all these notes. Let's go to transform. Let's use strum. And strum allows us to do what the name implies, and that we can strum notes. So we can add a little variation to the top notes, maybe a little more distance from the bottom notes. Let's hear that. And you see it's modifying the MIDI in real time, so I can really experiment until I find something maybe even a little more subtle than that. Just make that a little more subtle. All right, there we go. Just to give it a little more feel and variation. So we've got some piano recorded. We have some drums with a little more variation, which is nice. But let's keep moving on. And to do that, I want to take advantage of a new synthesizer in Live 12 called Meld. Now, Meld is a macro oscillator synthesizer. We have two full synth engines. That means we have oscillators to choose from, envelopes, LFOs, as well as filters, kind of a mixer, and then we bring them back together. So Meld uses what's known as like macro synthesis, and it's basically allowing us to combine a number of different synthesis types together and use them in harmony, right? Or disharmony, whatever we want to do. But let's listen to a few of these different sounds just so you can hear exactly what's going on. So let's arm this track, and let me get my computer keyboard on. I guess I could do this from push as well. So let me bring up push. Okay, so there's some basic sounds, but we can get quite complex with these synthesis types. Here's like a simple FM sound. A chiptune oscillator, shepherd's pie, so we get a little psychoacoustic pitch variation. We can add an extra tone to our sound, noise loop, filter noise, bit grunge, a little bit of like vinyl crackle, a little rain sound, right? So all this stuff is really quite useful and allows us to take advantage of this macro style synthesis. We'll notice that with the filters too, and you'll notice that throughout using meld is the fact that we have basically 2 parameters per many of the major modules or pieces of the synth, right? So for each one of these synthesis types, we have 2 parameters to play with. So let's look at some of the interesting things. And to do that, we're going to take advantage of something called scale awareness. Now, when I activate this in live, it's going to make live scale aware. So if we look at these oscillator types here, some of them will have this flat and sharp sign, and that indicates that we have the ability to take advantage of the scale awareness. So if I go to this dual basic shape and play a chord, and I make my synthesizer scale aware, we can hear that all the overtones from the synth and detuning actually will quantize to the scale. So super, super useful for all types of sound design and synthesis. So we're going to take a lot of advantage of that. Another way I like to use scale awareness is to turn on this glissando. And we can just do it for a single oscillator here. And select something like 2 notes. Let's set it to portamento. All right. Okay, so now that we've played with that a little bit, let's keep sound designing with Meld. I'll go back to my envelopes. I'm going to link them. And we'll get a nice short envelope and let's use the stack to make this even sound even bigger. Let's bring down some of the filters, and we have some really nice ones here. Let's use Val. And I'm going to create a new clip here. And let's go right back to our Generate tab, and let's go down to Seed. And let's just use a single note that we know is in key. And I'm basically, we don't even need a note to seed it. So I'm going to create just a 4-bar loop, and we're just going to, or let's do a 2-bar loop, right? So let's just create a little bit of material here. I'll select this, and with seed I can set a range, and let's make sure that we have all this selected, which we do now, and let's just create a range. Let's hear this. Let's just go select this last bar here to add a little more variation. Let's do it one more time. I'm going to bring the duration down so it's going to be quite quick. And let's make sure we do something a little higher so we have a nice little motive for our end. Let's make it nice and dense. Now what I can do here is actually take advantage of that scale awareness with this pitch quantization. So this is going to allow me to actually manipulate MIDI notes based off what we have here. Based off things like our LFO suite. So let's just do like a nice ramping LFO. Do something linear. Okay, so now that we have a little melody down here, let's add a little more to that. And to do that, let's add another track. And I want to introduce you to Granulator 3. So Granulator 3 is the latest version of Granulator, created by Robert Henke a few years back, or quite a few years back now, if we really think about when it first started. Actually, that was, I think, before my time at Ableton, when Granulator 1 was launched. And that may have been outside of Ableton as well. It's kind of interesting to think about because it was a Max for Live device first. But let's go ahead and play with this, and we'll add a little bit of a pad sound just to round out what we have. To do that, I'm just going to go to my samples. Now, Granulator 3 is a granular synthesizer, and it basically allows us to play samples in very unique ways, makes it quite musical. And yeah, this has been fully refined, new interface, new code under the hood, and as well as some new features as well. So all I need to do here is drop a sample onto the device. And I could select a position, and it will play back grains, which are small pieces of micro time of a sample. And kind of like we actually showed earlier with using those hi-hats and making really small subdivisions, we actually get to continuous tones from them, as you know. So let's scan throughout the sample, which is going to pick multiple places to kind of play from. And there's a few new modes. One of these is clouds, which I really love, which is going to play back multiple grains with variation, changing things like pitch, starting position, and grain size. And you start to get these nice evolving sounds. We can hit this hold parameter and really start to play with the things like sample start and playback. We can add variation to things like position, grain size, transposition. And how much of the file we're scanning from. So right now we're driving this without a MIDI clip. Let's actually drive with some MIDI. We can do some interesting stuff based on retriggering. Because we're scale aware, we're seeing the same purple color. That's going to let us know what notes are in scale. Let's just hear what this sounds like. And I can always hit this headphone icon to preview our sound. Let's hear all our sounds here. All right, so you can see I'm actually playing outside of scale, but that's cool. That's no problem at all. So this nice fit to scale button, we could press this and it'll actually put it into the closest inharmonic note, what's in key. So, although that's maybe not sounding great. Let's increase our envelope just a little bit so the note really kind of holds out. What I'm going to do now is add a new audio effect in Live 12 called Roar. Now, Roar is a multi-stage coloration device, really great from subtle distortion, even mastering grade distortion, all the way to really intense creative distortion effects as well. So let's go in more of the creative side here. And as you can see here, we have all these different shapers we can choose from that go from quite refined to quite intense or extreme. If I go to routing here, I can set it to multiband, and we see we can actually split. We can use 3 different distortion circuits on different frequency bands of our sound, right? So we have our lows, our mids, our highs. We can process each one differently. So, let me go to noise injection. And you see it's only affecting our low end, right? We can hear just that, and we can, really affect that. There's not that much low end in the sound, is why we're not hearing it too much, but let's stick with it. Definitely more mids here, so let's do a creative distortion type. Now, with all these values, we can easily modulate them, much like we saw with melt. And this is where things can get really, really fun. So if I select a parameter, it appears in this modulation matrix, and we have a whole number of parameters to modulate it from. So, let's assign it to noise, right? So this random noise at its own rate, and we have these different styles of noise. That is so intense. Let's bring that down. I'm like, yeah, sorry, everyone. Brown's going at its own rate, so let's just go this kind of sample and hold, or let's just wander and let it kind of distort on its own a little bit. Let's bring our highs in. Let's maybe filter these down a little bit, and we have some creative filters to choose from as well, which we can also modulate. So like a nice little morphine filter here. We could assign that morph filter to modulation, so let's assign that to LFO2. And let's maybe take the bias, where in the signal it's distorting, and we can assign that to LFO1, why not? And let's, lastly, for our noise, for our high end, let's do something a little intense too. Let's try this shards parameter here. And let's assign this to maybe our envelope. And let's do maybe a resampling filter. And what do we want to assign this to? Just a little bit to LFO2. Really subtle variation. We can make LFO2 nice and slow. Assign a little more to that. And let's go back and look at our signal here and add a little more pitch variation. Cool. All right, let's see if we need anything else here. All right, we're working through the Prezi. All right, so scale awareness, granulator 3, roar. And yeah, we could look at some tuning alternatives as well. Let's get meld going again. I think tuning is going to make everything sound a little insane, but let's go for it. 12-tone grammatis. Let's try this. This is going to be wild. Honestly, I kind of like it. I'm going to favorite this tuning, because maybe we can do something with this. Sounds quite similar, no? Let's delete it. Is that doing anything? There we go. So cool. It's a very subtle tuning, right? This mean tone is pretty nice too. It's pretty subtle if you listen to our sound, which we already have quite a bit of detuning going on, but kind of A and B it. Let's remove it. So no tuning. Let's try this. So when we have 12 tones here, right, we see this 12. That's letting us know that it's a standard 12-tone scale. So it's not going to readjust the keyboard, right? So if we fold this up, you know, we can see we have 12 notes in an octave, or it's maybe going to give us 8 here because it's in a key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so there's standard 12-tone. Let's make this a 20-note scale. And it's going to mess everything up, but let's try this. Honestly, some of these subtle scales are quite kind of appealing. So I haven't gone in enough yet, but again, we have a bunch of detuning going on with our chorus and stuff like that. Pleasing to me, maybe. Let's see. Back to original. I wonder if we have a vocal. Darling. Oh, that is loud. Apologies for that. Does that sound in tune? Maybe that's in tune. A little closer in tune. Let's go ahead and chop that up. Let's go an octave up. Maybe an echo or something like that? Maybe an echo here. What does this gate do again? Maybe a little bit too wobbly. All right.